Good evening, everyone. If you could take your seats, we are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in standing for the pledge. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you could please remain standing, we'd like to take a moment of silence, Madam Superintendent.
Yes. Just this past week, many of you are aware that we lost a family member in the Brockton Public Schools. Pam Brown was a teacher in many respects in a number of schools, but most recently at the Angelo School, over 45 years in education. I think it was important as I drove down Belmont Street during the services, right across the street, on the billboard as you go by the Angelo School, it really said it all. It said, "Miss Brown, we love you," and that she taught over 1,000 young people. For the most part, she was a first grade teacher to read. And that is something that again, is such a treasure for all our students. So again, on behalf of the Brockton Public School family that lost a cherished member, please take a moment of silence. Thank you. I'd also like to follow up this evening with, in our own office, and you know how it is when you work very closely with members in your office. Very suddenly, our executive assistant, Patricia Balchunas, Patty, her husband, Wally Balchunas, passed away. He not only was, again, the owner of Balchunas Electric, a longtime member of the City of Brockton. He was the wiring inspector for the City of Brockton. Very untimely, very sudden. I can't say enough about what a wonderful man he was, just very, very giving to so many, and I'd ask you to also please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Okay. Thank you all for attending. The mayor unfortunately cannot be here this evening. He had a minor surgical procedure this afternoon and sends his regrets. The second item on our agenda is the hearing of visitors. There was no one who signed up for the hearing of visitors, so we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is the routine bundling of matters previously discussed by the school committee, and at this point in time, any school committee member may remove an item or items from the consent agenda for individual discussion. Would anyone like to remove any items from the consent agenda for further discussion? Seeing none, then could I entertain a motion from someone to accept the items in the consent agenda?
Motion to accept the items in the consent agenda?
We need a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Item 4, communication. Madam Superintendent?
Nothing under communications.
Okay. Item 5, report of Superintendent of Schools. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you. As we've done a number of times, you have heard us talk about some very special people in our community. And again, I think many of us know that are in the Brockton community that we lost a valued member a few months ago, Mr. Carl Landerholm. And Carl was truly, I can't say it enough, Mr. Brockton. He is somebody that when he would come to visit me, it was always with a smile on his face. It was always with the best interest of our children at heart. He spent hours, whether it was children from the Kennedy School or West Middle School, talking about the historical nature of the very city they lived in. One of my favorite comments that his daughter, Lisa Landerholm Burke, shared with me when she and I had conversation was a story about talking to some youngsters and showing them, and I'm going to date myself now, but an old washing machine. And I'm actually picturing my own grandmother's house with the big washing machine and the washboard, and a little girl, and I believe she was from Haiti, got all excited and told Carl that her grandmother back in Haiti had that very, now here it was, here, historical. And he loved that. And he loved being able to share the roots of Brockton And he always made me understand, when you talk about progress industry, education is in our city seal. He showed his true love not only for the Brockton Public Schools, he marched with the alumni, he was everywhere that represented all that is good in Brockton. And I would like to invite down Diane Landerholm, his wife, his daughter Lisa Landerholm Burke. I'm not sure if there are other family members, but would like to invite you to come down, please. I want to get a presentation for her. Diane, I have to tell you, one of my favorite stories was when he came into the office and saw a big portrait of Barrett Russell, who was the first superintendent of the Brockton Public Schools. And he asked if he could have it for 6 months, and 6 months turned into a year, and he made sure that that was on display in the Historical Museum for people to see the history, which is so important to all of us. I did bring Barrett Russell home, and Colin was wonderful, but on behalf of all of us, for everything that he did, I know this is just a small trophy, but please know how much we can. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can you get a picture? Paula, thank you. Thanks, Peter. So much. We've got the pictures behind us of Carl. Thank you so much. These are wonderful pictures that you shared with us. So you can see always a smile on his face, involved in everything Brockton. This is his beloved car, I'm going to guess. I don't know much about cars.
No, that's my brother's.
Oh, okay. Do you want to tell me what it is? What?
It's a 1930 Model A.
1930 Model A Ford.
Me and daughter. Love to have it with them.
He does, he loves Brockton.
Children. Well, they will long remember, you know, what he shared with them. Please know that.
The picture in the middle is gonna be hanging at the historical. They did a big 14 by something.
Oh, I can't wait to
That will
see.
be up
Please
there.
invite us. Thank you.
Could we get one more photo?
Oh. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I was just telling Mrs. Landerholm that whenever I would see her husband on the street, he would greet me with a huge smile and always talk to me about something that was going on that he was involved with, and talking always about the students and the children of Brockton, and how he loved coming into the schools and how he loved educating the students about the history of our great city and all of the things that go along with the innovative inventions of Brockton, you know, especially Thomas Edison and electric and all those good things. But he exemplified what it is to be, I think, a true gentleman. If you knew Carl Landerholm, you knew how kind he was, how polite he was, respectful he was, caring he was. So the city was a better place because of Carl Landerholm and people like him. So we will all miss him.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Next, I get to tell a wonderful story. There are some people in education that truly make a difference in everything they do. And when we look at our successes in Brockton, whether it's the support that we have for our students, one of the things that I will say to everybody is we never do it alone. And we have very, very strong partnerships, and we're very fortunate to have a place like Bridgewater State University as our neighbors. And it's one thing to be your neighbor, it's another to be a consultant or to talk about some of the very things we share, whether many of us, our alumni, are educated through Bridgewater State University with your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, so those are connections. But we have Dr. Lisa Battolino that we would like to honor this evening, and I want to tell you a little bit about her. But first, I would like to invite Dr. Lisa Battolino, the Academic Dean for Bridgewater State University, to come down to the podium here. I'd also like to invite June Saber McGuire and Principal Mary Beth O'Brien to come down here also. And the reason that I say that is I'm going to tell a little bit of a story. And I can remember, and many of you can, when Principal June Saber McGuire, now Chief Academic Officer, was given the large job of turning around the Huntington School. It was our original turnaround school, and it was no easy task. And I tell her all the time, I remember going into our office and I would see this large piece of chart paper talking about the practices that had to happen in order for the staff to be able to support equity for students, making sure that the rigor was there. And one of the things that she talked about right away was Dr. Lisa Battolino, the partnership that involved not just Bridgewater State University coming in, but coming in with student teachers, doing practicum work, really developing a strong relationship. Developing programs that I had the good fortune of speaking about just last week, when you talk about programs like the Footbridge program, a program for our students at the Huntington School, now the Gilmore School, to go 2 weeks in the summer, fourth graders for a STEM camp, and I think we've even included some fifth graders. And when I went for the first time and watched that happen, not only did we have excited youngsters, I think we had probably close to 50 youngsters there, being educated with college professors, teachers at the time from the Huntington, now the Gilmore School, being able to take part in a college campus. I will never forget the graduation day when the parents came and you could see in their eyes that they knew that their children had opportunities for college and beyond, because Dr. Battolino, you had opened those eyes. So I want to thank you for everything that you have done as you retire from Bridgewater State University. I guess it's going to be on June 1st. The legacy of what you have left. And I asked June and Mary Beth to come up because these are some of their thoughts and I'd like to share them with you. Dynamic professional collaboration between Bridgewater State University and the Brockton Public School. Through your leadership, passion, commitment, energy, and overall presence and deep commitment to the students and faculty and overall beyond the Huntington Gilmore to all of the Brockton Public School. Partnered with the Huntington to repurpose the student teaching pre-practicum experience, where we have cohorts of aspiring educators engaging in the work of authentic pre-teaching experience in several of our Brockton schools, starting with the Huntington, the Raymond, the Davis, the Barrett Russell, Brockton High School. Established the partnership that I just talked about with the Footbridge program. Monthly professional development partnerships at 6 of our elementary schools, East Middle School and Brockton High School. Students throughout the districts and further future educators all benefit from the commitment Dr. Battolino has shown to our Brockton community. My favorite is how every year you participate in the Huntington Gilmore Parade. You come all decked out and you are so excited to walk with our students and show your support for wonderful things happening. Afforded Brockton students many experiences that connect students to the university, and make sure you always show up for Read Across America Day. Please join me as we congratulate Dr. Battolino on her retirement and for everything she's done. We'd like to give you a chance to speak, and then I'd like you to come up.
Well, first, I'm very grateful to your school committee and to your schools. I appreciate the kindness that you are offering me tonight, but I have to tell you what I do is very, very small compared to what your teachers do and your principals. Everything that happened was really because of them. And what you give to us at the college is just as important as what we give to you. how we prepare teachers doesn't make any sense if we're not partners and involved in public schools every single day. So it is my deep gratitude toward you and to June and to Mary Beth and to all of the principals and teachers and some of your teachers are here tonight that we work with. It's me that really should be thanking you. So I am made humble by this kindness, but it is me that has much gratitude to you for everything you've done for us and our college students. So thank you.
On a personal and professional level, Dr. Baldino has been a mentor to me, and she has done so much for the Brockton Public Schools that she is understating the work that she has led, because it has been amazing, and it really has transformed the way that public education at the K-12 level works with higher education. And I've actually been in different conferences and forums where I've heard other college professors talking about the model that I know that we created together in a way that has actually impacted schools across the state. And again, I can't thank Dr. Badalino enough, because the biggest difference that she's made for us is right here in the Brockton Public Schools with our very own students.
Thank you.
So much. Do you want to say anything, Mary Beth?
I think it is a bit of an understatement, and I think one of the things that we overlook is that it takes somebody who is advocating for our students on a daily basis. And when you think about the partnership with Bridgewater State, you recognize that there were some mutual benefits to the partnership, both on the college side as well as the elementary side, starting off, and now it's gone full scale throughout the Brockton Public Schools. But I think one thing we need to be reminded of often is that Dr. Badalino had constantly had to go in and advocate for the importance and the need for how it is going to create an impact upon our students to see themselves on a college campus. Although it got rained out yesterday, yesterday we had a field trip with parents and students that were going to participate in the Footbridge program. And although our numbers were somewhat low, which I blame on the rain. However, those opportunities have become constant, and over the course of the time that I've been part of the connection with Bridgewater State, we've seen this model grow and expand to so many more students. That you mentioned the first year with Footbridge, which is a free 2-week summer program. It reached 50 students. We actually have expanded that program to actually 88 students, going from our 4th graders, our 5th graders, and now, because they shouldn't be forgotten, there is one missed year between Footbridge and the Bridge program of our 6th graders, and through advocacy and really not giving up, we have now made sure that those 6th graders or rising 7th graders aren't lost in the program. And this is just one example of how we've constantly tried to create a pipeline of students from the Gilmore, so that they can see themselves as college students, and we know how important that is, so that they do recognize opportunity. So I just want to thank you for that, because I think that that's one thing that our students have really benefited from and continue to talk about years later. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Dr. Badalino would like to have you come up. Mary Beth and June, I'm not sure if there are other principals out there. If you are, please join us. Next, I'd like to invite John Snellgrove to come down to the microphone. This, again, is when you talk about people that actually care, again, about our students and make us the strong district that we are. You can see these strong community partnerships, again, with people that give of themselves, to support our very youngsters. And we have 2 more men who go above and beyond each and every day and make a difference in the lives of so many of our students. Mr. Snellgrove?
Good evening, Madam Superintendent, Vice Chair, School Committee, friends and visitors. The Lou Angelo Community Service Award recognizes those whose actions and generosity positively impacts the students and families of Brockton. For the last decade, in partnership with Brockton Rocks and the Shaw Center, the school department led the way in hosting a holiday event entitled Dinner for Champions. Our Brockton families were invited to a magical evening where children and adults enjoyed a night filled with delicious food, music, and dancing. During the event, children left the dance floor only to choose a present, a twisted balloon, have their face painted, and participate in arts and crafts. Throughout the last several years, our partners faced economic challenges, placing this event in jeopardy. In order for the holiday dinner to occur, the district would need assistance from others, so we sought new partners. During these hard times, the district received assistance from Mayor Carpenter's office and from a new partner, Mr. Michael Silva. Mr. Silva, a graduate of Brockton High School, class of 1987, and a local businessman, is known to wear his heart on his sleeve. This past December, over 400 people danced and sang, laughed, ate, and smiled. Children were wide-eyed when shown the toy room and asked if they'd like to choose something to take home. Adults were overheard sharing fond memories of holiday parties they attended as children and thanking the countless volunteers that made this evening special. One of those volunteers, this year's recipient of the Los Angeles Community Service Award, was there cleaning sprinkles off of the floor, shuttling desserts to adults relaxing at their tables. Mr. Silva has been extremely generous with his financial donations, which in and of itself should be recognized, but it goes much further and beyond that. Michael has rallied volunteers to assist with transportation for those families otherwise unable to attend. He's been instrumental in the solicitation of donations to include hundreds of toys for the children and gift cards to local grocery stores for adults. In years past, when donations weren't as plentiful, it was Michael that used his own money and time and went shopping for over 300 toys for our kids. As if that wasn't enough, Mr. Silver attends this event each and every year, only to take direction and assist in any way he can. Michael arrives early and leaves well after all the families are gone, because as he says, I want to make sure everyone has a good time and this is a happy night for them. It is without hesitation that this year's Los Angeles Community Service Award goes to Michael Silva, a true champion himself. I do.
We have them come down and take a picture with it. I'm not sure.
Susan?
You sure?
Right.
I wish you didn't wear this Eastern Tigers jacket tonight. And the Eastern baseball hat. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And now, I believe I'm inviting City Councilor Dennis Ianieri to come and also talk about the 2018 Lou Angelo Award, and again, for somebody very deserving and well-known to so many of us. Councilor, so happy to have you tonight.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent, Mr. Vice Chairman of the School Committee, members of the School Committee, other guests that are here, as well as two of my colleagues, Councilor Lally from Ward 6 and City Councilor at Large, Mr. Derencourt's also here. it's a great honor to be here to present the Louis F. Angelo Award. And as my colleagues always like to make a little fun and have fun with me when I say I had 20 years on the school committee, they all start, he had 20 years on the school committee? Did he really? Yeah, I did. And I have to say that when I left here in 2003, I was honored with the Louis F. Angelo Award, as well as having that achievement. Then Superintendent Beige wanted to make sure that I was recognized in some way, and the committee member that nominated me was the late Kevin Nolan, and that was right before he had passed, and it was very nice, and it was a great honor. I've always been in great. I think it's great when we do these types of things in memory of people that served our city, served it well. And I'm not going to be long-winded, but just a quick history for those that don't know. But Lou Angelo was a special type of person. I met Lou when I first started in politics in the late 70s and early 80s, and he was a young teacher at the George S. Payne School. Loved the George S. Payne School. Not only did he love the George S. Payne School, but the children of that school, no matter what grade it was, loved him. And he went on to be a tremendous teacher, a great mentor to so many people. And at the same time, he decided he wanted to join and become part of the political process, which he did do. And he became a city councilor, where he spent 10 years on the city council. Most of his years were also spent under the Pataro administration. And of course, he knew Carl well, because back then they all were part of the potpourri show. I don't know if you were in it at one point, Madam Superintendent.
Yes, I was.
I was as well, and they put us in the centennial year, to be truthful with you, yeah.
I danced.
Yeah, and we danced too, if you want to call it dance, but Paul Stadinsky Sr. was in it with us, so. But anyhow, that's the type of person that Lou was. And then when Lou went on to, become state representative, worked hard for it, and everybody said he'd do a tremendous job being a state representative, which he would do. Unfortunately, Lou spent his first 6 months with an illness, and the illness brought him down in June of 1995 through a horrible disease, which is still there, known as pancreatic cancer. But what was awfully sad is the fact that he even passed away on a Sunday afternoon while we were doing graduation, and when we all got home, we had heard of his passing. But in any case, the school committee 2 years later wanted to do something in recognition of him, and that was to keep his name going, but to keep him going as well. 43 years old, so much spunk left in him. Probably would have went even further in politics. May have even come back into education. Who knew back then? Everybody was all around the place because it was tough being in education in the 80s and 90s. But in any case, that didn't happen, but we kept the award going. And it was just a few months ago when I was in the school department administration building, I happened to look up at the plaque, and I saw that there was some blank years, and I didn't know what had transpired, and they told me that the committee just seemed to have gone a different way, and I said, I'd love to see us back on track, and Deputy Superintendent talked to me about it, and he indicated that you were doing what you were wanting to do to try to get this back on track too, so because it's been off for a few years, and I think it's tremendous. At the same time, they asked if I had a nominee, and I did, and I think you may have seen the synopsis, and I'll just go through it briefly, but when they mentioned that to me, I couldn't think of anybody that could fill it other than our outgoing city councilor, Paul Stadinsky, who served in city government for 10 years, but not only that, he's a Brockton boy, born right here in the city of Brockton, to the late Paul Stadinsky and Jean T. Hannon Stadinsky, attended Brockton Public Schools, did his service by being a service in Vietnam, and came home as a Vietnam veteran. And then when he came home, he worked in construction for a few years. Then he joined the ranks of the Brockton Police Department in 1971. Paul rose through that department, was appointed chief of police in January of 1992 by then Mayor Winthrop Fowle, and then was reappointed as chief in January of 1996 by Mayor John T. Units, and he remained in that position for almost 14 years, retired in 2005. And that's when he said, I think it's time for me to play some politics, and he came onto the city council. And he represented the people of Ward 4 and was reelected several times. And finally just retired in 2018 as counselor for 12 years. But Paul, he was always there when you needed him. You could talk with Paul. There was no beating around the bush with Paul. If you needed him for support, for whatever it may be, he told you yes or no. He didn't have to stop and think about it and play with it a little bit. He used to just say, can we just keep things rolling, let's get going, because it's all being done in the best interest of the city. And I may say that, the one thing that he especially loved, and he took care of the best of, were people who were involved in public safety. That was in his heart. And he's recently come back a few times to the city council in the last few months to speak or say something in regards to any issue that may be pertaining to the city. And one of the city councilors to still know that I'm still here, I'm watching, listening, and try to let's keep it on the straight and narrow. Let's do what's in best for the people. And just to add just a couple of quick things, because I don't know if people do realize, but he followed in his father's footsteps, because Paul Sr. served as city council of Ward 4. He was a state representative. He was the mayor of Brockton, city councilor at large until his passing in October 2003. I only had the opportunity to serve with Paul Studinsky Sr. when he was mayor and he was chairman of this committee. And I was elected in November 2003, looking forward to serving with him, but that didn't happen. But he always said that you do a good job, kid, because you've been around a long time, and that's how Paul Sr. was, and that's how Paul Studinsky himself is, and his father had over 50 years worth of service. So in any case, that's who my nominee is. I couldn't think of anybody any greater than a person like Paul, who served as chief of police for 14 years, probably one of the longest serving ones we've had, and he's did tremendous things during those years, and he's still out there, and he even said to me the other day when I talked to him on the phone, he said, I might be back still. You never know what I might be doing. I said, no one knows what Paul Studinsky's going to do. But in any case, that was my nominee for 2018. So may I present to you former city councilor and former chief of police, Paul Studinsky.
Yes, perfect.
Chief, would you like to say a few words?
I'd love to. Thank you very much. Very few, though. Thank you, my dad. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Councilor Ian. I don't really need a mic, I don't think. If you can't hear me, let me know. Speak louder, but I have a. What is really great about this is I was very close with Lou Angelo. When I was the chief of police, he was my go-to counselor. He knew how to do things and get things done. And between his lead and my dad's lead, I think I had some pretty good people to follow. And Lou was just a great gentleman. Different projects we did in the city together, along with Richard Sergi, cleaning up the areas, things like that. Just fantastic. And the school department is. Public safety was number one in my heart, but school department is right there running neck and neck. I used to love everything I did with the school department. And in particular, I liked Santa Claus visiting down in Miss O'Brien's area. She had a great Santa Claus down there. But with that, I'm going to close. Thank you very much. And I don't know if how much I appreciate it. I know how much I appreciate it, but it's nice to know that Dennis appreciates me. Thank you very much.
Can I also let you know that in the audience is Lou's brother, Joe Angelo. Joe, I'm not going to let you go anywhere yet. I do want to say that after 42 years, you do get the opportunity to know some terrific people. And a couple of terrific people I got to know was Lou Angelo. And my favorite story is when I went to teach at the Winthrop School, which is Ward 7, and now doesn't exist. It is the Angelo School, named after Lou. I'll never forget Lou being all excited because my husband taught at the Winthrop School for years, knew the families. Lou marched him around every house in Ward 7, thought he had an ace in a hole. I love that he won that election. And again, Chief Studinsky, I have to tell you, coming to Brockton in 1977, when I married into the Smith family, I knew that what we did was support Mayor Studinsky at the time, and that was one of my first political campaigns. Wonderful men, and again, congratulations, and thank you again for everything Lou did. I can still see his smiling face as I'm talking to you today, and so proud of his many accomplishments. So congratulations to Michael Silva, to Paul Studinsky, for just doing wonderful things for our children, and in honor of Lou. Congratulations. And next, we'll go to our student report. Our student representative, Jayla Smith, is here to take us to the home stretch. Jayla.
Hello, everyone. So to begin, Math MCAS testing begins tomorrow. And also tomorrow night, there's a chorus concert at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. For seniors, seniors' last day is tomorrow, followed by prom Thursday night at Gillette Stadium, and then graduation will be June 1st.
So this is an exciting time for you.
Yes.
Can you tell us, and it's important that you do tell us, is there anything planned for tomorrow we should know about?
Tomorrow night?
Oh, no, last day of school tomorrow.
Oh. Honestly, I think Deborah in the audience can agree with me that my senior class, I feel like all of us are worried about on our future. So no one has planned anything. Not even, I'm trying to think of something to do to Dr. Murray, like play around with him, because I do the morning announcements. So I'm like running his office. I don't know. I haven't thought of anything, but nothing to harm anyone.
Give him a
just
big
something silly.
handshake as you walk out the door. We are very proud of this senior class, and this is such an I think all of us can remember back to I can remember my last day, my senior year. And it's a wonderful time. It's all about you right now. It's the achievement, all of the things you did in preparation for your future. Tomorrow, I believe you have your breakfast. As you said, the
Thursday, we have our breakfast.
Thursday.
Yep.
Tomorrow was your last day. Thursday is the breakfast. You leave and you prepare for the senior prom,
Yes.
which is just a beautiful event I have never seen, and I said this to the city council last night. When I look at all of you, everybody together on that dance floor, every child, every student, it doesn't matter what group you were from, the band, you know, the drama club, the athletes, everybody is included, and it is probably just the most wonderful night. So stay safe, and thank you for coming on to our school committee. You added just the right touch of hearing about the wonderful things happening at Brockton High School, and we wish you congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Congratulations. And talking about amazing students, I would like to invite down another one of our students, Deborah Silva, a Brockton High School senior, and Donna Neary is also coming with her, her guidance counselor from Brockton High School, to tell you not only about an amazing program, but an amazing leader who is out there having difficult conversations and dealing with a dialogue with young students that is going to position them to have truthful conversations and ways to really help us all get along. So, Deborah, would you please share with us a little bit about your program?
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me tonight. Sorry about my voice. I'm a little allergies, you know. So, yeah. So you can start, Miss Neary.
Thank you. Hi, thank you for having us. I'm Donna Neary. I'm school counselor at Brockton High, and I've had the honor of being Deborah Silva's school counselor and her mentor for Project 351. Deborah's been a current senior at Brockton High, and she's been involved in Project 351 for 5 years. I know she has plans to continue volunteering at Tufts next year and for her future. Recently, she's led the PlayBook Initiative under the guidance of the Celtics Shamrock Foundation, alongside Project 351. Her work in the community has led her to be recognized as a Hero Among Us Award recipient on April 7th at the Celtics home game, where she was honored. So we're real proud of her and what she's accomplished at Brockton High. This is only a small part of what Deborah's accomplished.
You're too sweet. Okay, thank you. So yeah, she mentioned the organization. So the nonprofit name is Project 351. So basically, there are 351 cities and towns in the Commonwealth, and there's an 8th grade ambassador from each city and town. They're selected in the 8th grade by like the superintendent or the principal. So I was that 8th grade ambassador for Pluff, representing Brockton. 9th grade year, and then I was selected to come back and be on their Alumni Leadership Council, and I've been on it ever since. So basically the organization was created by Governor Deval Patrick alongside our founder, her name's Carolyn Casey, and then we do a lot of work with the governor and a lot of outreach programs, so like Cradles to Crayons, Greater Food Bank of Boston, and then alongside 2 days of leadership and community service, we also have ambassador-led service projects. So I've led a few in Brockton. It depends on like, so we have a fall service, we have a spring service, sometimes it's a food drive, sometimes it's a clothing drive, sometimes it's support for military overseas. So that's a few of the things that Project 51 has done. So the PlayBook Initiative is something that was created by the Celtics Shamrock Foundation, and it was kind of piloted by Project 351. So I was selected amongst 13 others, I believe, in the Alumni Leadership Council to bring this program to our cities. So basically it is this program to kind of create dialogue about uncomfortable conversations. So it's basically talking about discrimination, racism, sexual orientation, things that you wouldn't really see kids talking about. And it kind of gives them an idea of how to deal with certain sticky things that they wouldn't want to deal with. So we had this thing called the actual playbook, and it had scenarios that kids from Lawrence, I believe middle schoolers, came up with, those actual scenarios that kids have dealt with. And I would have the kids read the scenario and read the questions afterwards, and we would talk about, oh, so if someone were to say this to you, what would you say in response? Would you tell a teacher? Would you cry? Would you put it on social media? Those questions like that. And I wasn't trying to, the goal of the program wasn't to point fingers at anyone and condone anyone for having bad actions, but it was just to have them have more of an open mindset on how to deal with problems. So the Celtics, they gave us training days. Dave Hoffman, he's the leader of the Celtics Shamrock Foundation. We've had several programs with him. We also, the person in the top right that I'm hugging, her name is Soraya. So I actually co-led the PlayBook Initiative here in Brockton with her kids in Norwood. And it was an amazing experience because I don't think I mean, at least I take for granted a lot the diversity that Brockton has. And she was just dumbfounded at like the amount of color, because she personally is one of the only people of color from Norwood. And she thought it was amazing that she could bring her kids from Norwood to see all the different types of people and culture and that mix that she, her kids and herself has never seen. So yeah, beyond that, there's also the celebration for all the kids that participated at Dave & Buster's. And then we also, on the 4th, 7th, the April 7th game, I was awarded the Hero Among Us award. So yeah.
Trying to see where you are, Deborah.
Oh, okay, I'm the awkward one on the right with... Yeah, because they told us, go in the circle, like be around it. And my guy friend on the right just wasn't paying attention. I was like, come on. But I guess I should have moved. Oh, well. Oh, and the tall man in the top is Al Hoffman. Yes. He was part of it too. There was a few other Celtics players I got to meet. Jaylen Brown, Kyrie Irving, someone else. I forget. It's more like they gave me some tips. Oh, definitely not a huge basketball player fan. But after this, though, I've been watching every single Celtics game. Woo, go Celtics. Okay, so that's Miss Neri, and she has supported me so much this whole, just Project 351 in general, and obviously she's been my mentor for the PlayBook Initiative. And basically, yeah, Brockton's role is that it's, we're bringing, especially Brockton specific, because the other cities that did this, it was mostly white-centered communities. There wasn't a lot of like some of these cities haven't even heard of like Cape Verdeans. I had to explain to them, okay, it's from an island off of Africa, blah blah blah. So I think it was important that Brockton participated in this, not only to create conversation amongst our own students, but to kind of give awareness to people in other communities. Do you want to add anything, Ms. Nearing?
I was amazed at the poise and the intelligence that every one of the students showed, not only the high school students that were mentoring the middle school, but some of us were able to observe what was going on in the PLUF that day. And there was such growth and such compassion that I was comforted to know where we're headed in the future.
Yeah, some of the things these kids said I was not expecting. There was like a young little boy, so our scenario specific was about racism, and it was about making fun of people in a restaurant behind their back. And this one kid started talking about, how black men are being discriminated by the police, and he talked about police brutality. And I swear this kid is like 4'7" or something. He was so cute, big-eyed, and it was just, I literally had to take a step back and just reflect, wow, these kids are being exposed to so much, and it's amazing that I could get to talk to them about this and hopefully help them in some way.
Well, we are very proud, and you are correct that, 351 districts. We did get to recommend. Principal Nezrella said you were, at the time, a wonderful choice. I can't thank Councilor Neary enough, because I know what you do, Donna. You always go above and beyond, and what a wonderful opportunity to see Deborah through these years and just to understand how much we support. And I know we do take for granted. We come from a diverse community. We're so proud of everything our kids do. They handle a lot of things in adult ways many times. So to have that opportunity, as you said, to meet with other communities and share the wisdom and certainly the compassion that people like you, representing so many students in the Brockton Public Schools, I think you'll all join me in knowing that the world is a better place, because of you. So thank you for representing us well. I know myself and Chief Officer of Student Support Services, Sharon Wolder, had an opportunity to go to PLUF Academy the day that you were hosting the students from Norwood. We tried to obviously stay in the background because we didn't want to stifle the conversation that was being led by students and a comfort level that allowed you to have conversations that probably wouldn't have happened if it was adult-led. So again, led by their peers, led by students, the response was excellent, and please join me in congratulating Deborah. Deborah, you're going to Tufts, did you say?
Yes, I'll be going to Tufts University in the fall. I'll be studying international relations and affairs. I might either minor in Chinese or educational studies. I'm not sure if I want to work in the public sector or nonprofit sector, so we shall see.
Well, how about coming back to teach in Brockton?
I was considering going into education.
Well, we would love to have you. Sign her up. Where's Dr. Moran? Dr. Moran, you heard that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Angela, where are you going? I didn't ask you.
I will be attending Howard University
Oh.
this fall, and I will be majoring in biology.
Oh, my God. Congrats. Oh, wow. You both coming here? Look at her toes. We all understand this. Make sure you get the toes. I can't wait to see you Thursday night. Congratulations. It's the best part of my job. You don't understand that, Mr. Minicello. It's very important.
I noticed something under the table, but I wasn't going to bring, not knowing enough about daughters, I wasn't about to go there.
Oh, boy. Okay, well, we actually had a lead-in when we talk about our large community of Cape Verdean students and members of our community, and we had a wonderful opportunity shared by a number of our faculty. I know Kelly Silva, the Director of Bilingual Education, is going to come up and share with us a little bit. I'm sorry, what did I say? Kelly Jones, I'm sorry. Kelly Jones. But is going to share a little bit about us, about a wonderful trip that just happened. So I'll let you take it away.
Thank you for having me tonight. And I'd like to just introduce some of the tour participants that we took place in April. So back earlier in the fall, you graciously approved a collaborative program with Bridgewater State University that would, and the Pedro Pierce Institute at Bridgewater State, to support our teachers to go spend April vacation in Cape Verde, learning about the educational system, the culture, and the country. So the participants, we had Dr. David Almeida, who is a BU professor, lead the group. We had principals, associate principals, coaches, ESL teachers, SEI teachers, secondary teachers, elementary teachers, special needs teachers, and an MTA joined the group. And here we are, very excited to learn about the country and culture and land of our students. The original plan was to go to schools in Praia, in the island of Santiago, go to schools in Sao Filipe Fogo, as well as to visit a variety of officials, embassies, and staff around it. That was the original itinerary. Unfortunately, due to weather, we had an unexpected layover in Ponta Delgada, Azores, for a few days. So when we finally got there, we were unable to go to the Fogo Island because of that delay. I will say that, as you can see, we were pretty stressed out about the change in our plans. And when we had the conversations, we thought, you know, we're adults. We are safe. We have funds. We are okay. But this unexpected change to what we thought was going to happen to us really sent us back a little bit. We struggled with being stranded in a country for a few days that we didn't expect to be stranded in. And it gave us another insight on some of the challenges, the unexpected challenges that some of our students may be facing. They prepare themselves for certain things in a new culture and a new land, but there are things that they don't expect. And we struggled. Some of our students may struggle as well. So while it was trying, we were very we learned a valuable lesson from it. So finally, we made it to Cape Verde. We were flying into the island of Santiago. That is the capital, Praia. We visited many schools on the island of Santiago, and we were really moved by what we saw. So I'm just going to show some of the pictures. So we went to both elementary, middle, and high schools in the city of Santiago, as well as the countryside. This is a high school that we went to go visit. It was a technical high school. We saw computer programming. We saw electrical engineering. And up at the top, you can see there were some teachers doing common planning. We went to an elementary school in Santiago, and we saw math being done. And what was really resonating for us is that we tend to think of mathematics as being a universal language, universal approach, but what they were doing at the age it was being introduced, as well as the problem-solving mechanisms, were quite different. So we learned a lot through these observations, and they were very happy to see us. We went to another elementary school. They were doing literature at this class. We went to, in the city of Asomata, which is on the other side of the island, we saw a middle school and a high school. So these students were doing group work and doing a project in the library. This is their library. We also visited a high school in Asomata, and this was a very large school. Half the school was a high school, and then in another building there was a middle school. And there is an English class on the left-hand side, and they are doing a presentation, an oral presentation on mass media and some of the challenges with mass media. So we were able to see lots of different people in the country. We visited at the top left corner a children's author and literacy advocate in Cape Verde. We went to go see the building of the new University of Cape Verde that's being developed in collaboration with the Chinese government. And then on the right-hand side, we visited with the U.S. Embassy. We visited with an educational historian. We visited with a city council man in Asomata. And the gentleman who's a city councilor on the right-hand side is actually a Bridgewater State graduate. And then on the lower left-hand side, we visited the National Library of Cape Verde, and we learned about the literacy development efforts that are going on to promote literacy in Cape Verdean. The land was just incredible. We were struck by the beauty, by the joy, we visited the markets, we visited the town. This is a view from a place we went for lunch, and that is overlooking where we stayed. Now, what's very interesting is that we learned about the history of Cape Verde. On the left-hand side, the first picture is a pillory where African slaves were actually chained and sold in the 18th and 17th century. We got to see what it's like for the towns outside of the capital of Praia. So we got to see what rural Cape Verde is like. And on the right-hand side, we visited the Tarrafal concentration camp, which is where they held political prisoners from before World War II through the 1960s. The country is stunning and beautiful, and this is part of the coastline and just a house that we saw. We processed through the whole trip together, what can we take that can help us become better servants, better teachers of our students. And so I asked some of the reflections to participate, and I think one of, and you can read them, but I'd like to read the first one for you. By seeing our potential students engage in learning in their native language and in their home, I now have a new way of looking at our new arrivals. They are like a well-packed suitcase. We have to carefully and patiently unfold all their belongings before we find the buried treasure, the whole child. Another participant said that it's not enough just to know that a student is from Cape Verde. We really must investigate further so that we can understand the background because of the variety of experiences within the country. A principal talked about how while there are cultural differences, there are a lot of things that are similar that they bring to with them when they come to Brockton. Doing group work, note-taking, computer labs, kind of creative display, all of these things were are very universal for the children's experiences. One of the things that really resonated with us is that there is a level of autonomy and freedom for children even of a younger age. And so we need to understand that, the level of freedom that they have to go to use the class leave the class to use the bathroom, or to go out and buy candy and snacks on the streets between classes. All of these things we have to recognize that are different from what they experience. And then I'd like to disclose what they said, they're building their future one brick at a time with everything that they've got. So it really was a powerful experience, and we thank you so much for supporting us in this learning. We had a debriefing with our colleagues at Bridgewater State, and we talked about kind of some of the things that we can do if this is supported in the future. We'd like to start planning for next year right away. We had a lot of people, because we were late in getting this program off. They weren't able to do it this year, but if we could start earlier in the fall, we could probably lower the price for the participants, as well as increase availability. We thought about expanding the participation preparation, so maybe doing some cultural classes, language, classroom activities. The Pedro Pierce Institute is looking into kind of doing a regional group with both Brockton, New Bedford, and Fall River, and having more teachers in the region be able to go. And if we had more teachers in the region going, we could conceivably tailor it more for their experiences. So we could have a secondary strand, where the secondary strand goes to high schools, and the elementary strand goes to elementary schools. And if there are teachers who want to really explore special education in Cape Verde, they could do that. We'd like to look for possible foundation support or business support. And we're thinking about some, kind of the possibility of more time in more days, so we could have more time in schools and more cultural experiences. One of the nice things that has emerged from this project is that the U.S. Embassy in Cape Verde that we met with has now reached out to Lisa Mosley and Donna Riley, and they're going to be doing consular seminars with the staff in the U.S. Embassy in Cape Verde to talk about what are some of the documentation that we need here in Brockton to ensure that the students are placed appropriately, assessed appropriately, and given the supports that they need. We talked about professional development exchanges, school partnerships, pen pals, Skype pals, potentially doing research. There's a lot that can be done, and this is just the first step in what we hope is a long collaboration with the country of Cape Verde and Brockton Public Schools. Any questions? I thank you very, very much for supporting this. It was transformative for many of us, and I think we will continue to kind of, the lessons will continue to emerge over time. We will continue to make connections and grow from this. Hi, Joyce.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. It's wonderful to be able to go to their culture and see how they are. Going to someone else's country makes us understand a little more what they've gone through to get here. So I think it's wonderful that way. You bond in a different way, I think, when you see, and you can understand sometimes, like you mentioned, they just leave, and if that's what they're used to, they're not going to understand that we have rules, and you can't just, talk without raising your hand and leave in the classrooms and stuff. So I think it's wonderful. The more we can do these, I think it makes it easier on the teachers. You can relate better to the different cultures that we have.
It's a powerful statement to our students and our families. To say to our students, you are important to me. You are so important to me that I want to learn everything about you. You're so important to me that I'm going to use my vacation to go learn about you. That's a really powerful kind of action for students.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Thank you.
I noticed that the students are wearing uniforms.
Yes.
And is that also at the high school level?
Yes.
And is that public schools?
We all saw public schools.
Did anyone ask what their thought process is with respect to uniforms and why they utilize uniforms.
I think it's been part of the culture for a very long time, so it's, they start in kindergarten. In the elementary schools, I don't know if you saw, there's a little, they were wearing the little blue smocks. That is universal in all elementary schools, and it is kind of synonymous with education, with primary education. I will say that while school is public, there are some costs associated that the schools that the families have to pay in order for them to have an education. So while it's public, there are some costs associated with it, and that is sometimes challenging.
Is every child required to go to school?
Through eighth
Through
grade.
eighth grade.
And did you notice any of languages being taught in the schools? And what were they?
The children are first educated, the home language is Cape Verdean Creole, but in the school, the official language is Portuguese. So it's almost as if they're bilingual students in their own country, because many of them, if their parents haven't been educated, they don't speak Portuguese at home. So their first exposure to Portuguese is when they get to school.
Many of them graduate high school with 4 or 5 languages master. They start English, they start
In fifth grade.
Chinese, French.
It's interesting, and I don't know if there's any difference, you know, I've certainly heard and always been interested. Had you gotten to see FOGO? Is there a difference in the educational system there?
I think there is, but we didn't get to see it, unfortunately.
Because you were in the capital city.
But we did go out into the countryside as well. I think there are intra-island differences, but there's also city versus rural differences as well. So,
If I may, I think it's important to note that they've just begun a special ed pilot program. And that's happening on the island of San Vicente, which we also did not visit. So they're in their very early stages of implementing the special ed program.
Well, it's a great time to develop a partnership with them.
yes.
There are so many connections, and when you talk about, you know, we've always talked about the cultural proficiencies and understanding our children come from so many different places, to be able to, as you said, show respect, to go and hopefully be able to share that as you're doing this evening. That was part of the deal, that, you know, if we were able to support the little bit that we were able to, that you would come back and share with us about your trip, and already it's amazing that you're making connections. You'll continue to develop strong relationships, and it will benefit all of us.
The U.S. Embassy, because we have such expertise with us in the area of special education, the U.S. Embassy was really eager and intrigued to develop some kind of relationship so that we can have mutual growth in areas of special education.
So besides these schools, if they're starting with special ed, students with disabilities, what happens to them in the other areas? Anything?
Most of the students are not pushed, they're left in the back of the room. They, if the student doesn't show the interest to progress, it's kind of like it's how much you want is how much you get. If you want to sit in front of the class and do well, you get the attention. If not, it kind of moves back. We even notice some students that have to reuse notebooks and workbooks. They'd be erasing their siblings' information and coming back in and using the same book. But the majority of the special needs students that I see when I register at the Parent Information Center have had no support or services at all. We have a little girl that came here 4th grade, and she doesn't read, write, cannot do her own letters, doesn't recognize her name, and they just keep on keeping them back. So they repeat them, and they'll come here 10, 12 years old, and they're in 1st grade, because they just can't. We observed a 5th grade classroom with a 16-year-old in it who just hadn't passed the 5th grade curriculum for Cape Verde.
So there's a lot to share.
There's a lot. So we heartily thank you for your support of this work, and it's going to help us be better teachers, and it's going to help our students be better students, and maybe it's going to help kind of the students and the teachers in Cape Verde as well.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with us. And next, keeping on the same vein, we also, we get many requests, and we've had a Chinese language program for a long time in the Brockton Public Schools. And we have requests about students from China coming over and doing exchanges, some of our students wanting to go over. So we had an opportunity through Primary Source to send our coordinator of foreign languages, Rachel Umbriana, to China, also during this April vacation time period. So we've asked Rachel to come in and, again, to share with you a little bit about her trip, with the idea that we possibly open up for other educators, or also open up for the possibility of our students being able to do exchanges.
Right. Good evening. My pictures are not as professional as Kelly's, so sorry. We started out, I flew over a few days before April vacation began. This was a really important trip for me because in college I was able to travel extensively on scholarship and with grants to places where of the languages that we instruct. This was my first trip to an Asian country, and having 4 Chinese teachers in the department, it was very important for me to experience the culture firsthand. So this was definitely a great opportunity. So we started in Beijing. There were 22 of us. It was a combination of administrators, educators, and we did all the touristy stuff first. So we started in Beijing. We did a walking tour. We literally hit the ground running after getting off the plane. And we were able to see the Forbidden City. We went to Tiananmen Square. We were able to, I did a ton of walking, excessive amount of walking. And the top left, this was my first Tai Chi class ever. I was not great at it, but we did Tai Chi in a very public location with a lot of people watching. All the Americans doing Tai Chi, so that was humbling. I was able to sample the Peking duck, which is like the national dish. The Great Wall obviously was #1 on my list to see. And my favorite part in the bottom left is once you climb all the way up the wall, you can actually take a toboggan down, so you don't have to climb the stairs back down. So that was one of my favorite parts. In the middle, I traveled with some educators. Those were 2 of the educators from Milton and from Weston that I paired up with to walk up the wall. We didn't go very high. We all were on the same page. The first trip that we made to schools, we went to Xi'an, and this was your traditional testing school. Students actually have morning, afternoon, and evening classes, so they start around 7:30 and they end around 10 p.m., and they have a break for lunch and nap in the middle of the day. What I noticed was an exceptional amount of school pride. In the bottom left, the students actually lined up in the morning, and their top student would give a speech, motivational speech to get the students started for the day. And the top right, this is something that's new. This was an English class. Just like Kelly had mentioned, the students over there take English, and they all had fantastic English. But this was kind of a modern classroom because the students were sitting in groups, which is a little unusual for the testing school. In China, students take the Gaokao, which is like our equivalent of the MCAS, but they get 1 shot to take it, and their score that time determines, what schools they go to, and they prepare for this one test. Then we went to a rural school. This was actually, I loved this. In the middle and the bottom, this was an elementary school. The students actually put on a dance performance for all of the American visitors in the courtyard. It was, again, the students all spoke English. We went to an English class, and they thought we were celebrities, so they asked for our autographs. So we wrote little messages to them in English on their school notebooks, so that was really adorable. We went to the Muslim market, we saw the terracotta warriors, and we did the Xi'an City Wall, which you can actually rent a bike, which I discovered after not having ridden in a while. It's not as easy as I remember. Then we went to Chengdu, which was one of my favorites. There were pandas. We saw pandas and red pandas, which was the first time I've seen a red panda. We climbed Mount Chingcheng, which was 20,000 steps. And I did make it all the way to the top, so that was quite an accomplishment. But you could see, they had all the Taoism temples and everything set. It was just really beautiful. And on the top left, we actually had dinner. We did hot pot, and there was a mask performer, a face-changing performer, which, funny enough, 2 years ago, we actually had someone come to the high school and perform for the PLUF students and for the high school students that same performance. So it's still amazing if you haven't seen it. So this was my favorite school that I traveled to, the Chengdu Experimental Foreign Language School. These students, this was considered a more progressive school. It's a newer school. Their focus is on educating the whole child. They have counselors on staff for the students. They teach multiple foreign languages, and they also have a big arts and music program. Their focus at this school was to not focus so much on the testing and to focus more on allowing the students to have arts in their daily studies. So the middle, actually what I found very interesting is a map of where their students go to college. And for a lot of these students, their goal is to be accepted to a college here in the United States. They were very kind. They had a big plasma screen with all of our names on it. It was really, this was my favorite school that I visited, and we sat in the cafeteria and ate with the students. And that is a math class on the top left that had 47 students in it, so which is normal for China. And the last day, the second to last day, there was a youth forum. This is what I was really impressed with. Primary Source was partnered with Alpha Exchange, so there were students and our group of educators as well as the educators that traveled with the students. And we had a giant forum where the students all had an opportunity to collaborate and talk about their experiences and share what they would bring back to their school. And the educators had an opportunity to do the same. So we were able to ask the Chinese educators questions about the education system, and they asked us similar questions. So it was really enlightening to be able to meet to do that. And that's it. So I think the focus of this is just to explore. We've had students travel to China, and we have 4 students interested in traveling this summer through Harvest International, who's been great to us, and give our students an exceptional discount on traveling. And then I use the Confucius Institute grant money to give them an additional scholarship as well when they travel. But the hope is that we could do something potentially as a district for the students to have this experience.
Rachel, I see you have members of your department here supporting you
I
this
do,
evening.
my fan club back there, my cheerleaders.
What a beautiful country. And I know that's just a snapshot. We're so fortunate to see 2 beautiful countries, and we just see the richness of what we offer to our kids here. So we like the conversation, again, about looking at our children being able to do exchanges and welcoming our Chinese student friends to also come and possibly spend some time in Brockton. And that takes a lot of planning. It takes sometimes homes that welcome these students in, but there are many communities that do this, and I think the time is right, for us to start to open our doors, to start to send our very talented educators out there and to develop those relationships so that we can continue to grow our district. And for some districts, they don't think anything of sending their students to places all over the world. We have students that come from all over the world. So I think we really need to open those doors, and I think this was a great start.
Okay. Do you want me to pass on?
I'm sorry?
The social media, do you want me to
Yes,
pass?
so School Committeeman Brett Gormley had mentioned to you a couple of weeks ago about Rachel and Brianna, and is it a Facebook page, Rachel?
Yes.
So it's social media, and it's connecting with some of our students and our families through the foreign language department. So I told her she had prepared to show you the slides, although Mr. Gormley is not here this evening. I thought we could see the slides and then invite that conversation at another time when Mr. Gormley is present, because I know he wanted you to see this.
Just to fly through quickly, because I know some of you follow the page, one of my biggest goals within the department is advocacy, because we are technically an elective, and I want people to see how hard both our teachers and our students work in our classes, that it is academically rigorous, and we do a lot of fun things. So we focus on our teachers, we focus on our students, and we focus on what happens in the classroom. So every Monday, we do a teacher feature. We mix it up every year. We do, had students interviewing teachers last year. This year, we have the teachers have an opportunity to write a little blurb about themselves, and that's just a sample of one of our teachers that was featured. So every teacher in the department is featured every Monday, and the teachers are supportive, and they write their little blurbs and send them to me. So Tuesday through Thursday, we talk about what's happening in the schools. If a teacher wants to share a lesson that they did, or something fun in their classroom, or the students working hard, they'll send the pictures to me. Other times, if I'm walking through schools or classrooms, I'll snap pictures of the decorations that we have up, what the students are working on in class, and just to keep people updated of the fun activities that you don't necessarily hear about from your kids, or if you don't have anybody in the language program. And then Friday, this is our most popular, we have our student features. Our teachers nominate exceptional students, and what we define exceptional students is students who are academically just fantastic, or students who are super passionate about learning the language, or students who have made great improvements in language learning. Those are all considered exceptional students in our department, and our teachers recognize the hard work that's done by the students as well. So I reach out to the students and tell them that they've been nominated, and I give them a chance to write a little bit about themselves and share a picture, and then we send it out on Friday, and parents love it, the kids love it, they all share it, and they get excited. So, and to promote the page, I make little business cards, if you will, that has our social media information on it, and then on the back for parent-teacher conference night, for each teacher, I put their name and their contact information, their phone number and their email, so the teachers can just pass it out at parent-teacher conference night, so the parents have the teacher's contact information and our social media information to follow what's going on in the department.
So Rachel, you also control the site, correct?
I do.
So can you explain to us a little bit about that? So I'm not into Facebook, so.
I am a very organized person, so I actually have a calendar, and I know, who we're interviewing on what day and what posts we have, so I schedule it out ahead of time. I monitor the posts. There are settings on Facebook that allow me to monitor what people are saying, and any type of interaction on the page I follow, but Facebook allows you to book a post 6 months out, so I actually have posts ready to go, and it posts at the same time every day, and it's exciting to see the post every morning when it goes out. It's my little pet project.
Joyce?
Got a lot of questions tonight. I'm actually a follower, so I do follow the page. I see Miss Lee. My niece, Alexandra, and actually both nieces are on the Chinese program, and they absolutely love it. And I get a kick out of listening to them, and we were out to dinner one night, and they had music playing, and all of a sudden Alexandra gets into the song, and I'm going, and it was beautiful. It's just beautiful to be able to see them, interpret other languages as far as speaking it, and very fluent. So, being bilingual is wonderful. Mm-hmm. And I speak 2 languages, and I think it's wonderful to be able to teach our children multiple languages and exposing them to so much. So I follow as many Facebook pages as I can for the school, and I'm always trying to share some of the things that are going on. So if I'm on Facebook, I'll share some of your posts. So that's me.
Thank you.
See that?
I can see it.
I'm a sharer. I'm stalking
watching.
your page, but it's wonderful, and thank you so much for all that you've done for our students.
Thank you. And the teachers are great. They make it happen because they send me the posts and let me take pictures in the classroom.
And actually, Erin and my niece Alexandra went to China last year.
Yes, together, yeah.
So it was wonderful looking at the pictures and hearing the stories. So and that, I believe they were part of it wasn't through Brockton High, it was a different
The
program,
Harvest International Group.
which is wonderful. So you're always looking for different opportunities for our students. So thank you.
And 2 more students from Brockton, one going to Harvard, one going to BC. Just amazing. And Rachel, I think the idea when I think of Mr. Gormley was, you know, he enjoyed it so much, he would love you to be able to share with other departments. So I think going forward, that might be something we take a look at because, and that's why I talked about the protections. When you do put a Facebook page out there, you're looking at posts, you're making sure there's a courtesy involved and certainly giving people, you know, information from the district. So hopefully, I think that is his goal, to talk about maybe growing that. And we know that, again, parents, students, you know, this is the communication that goes on now. So, you know, thank you for doing that, and I think it's a great outreach.
Thank you. Yes.
I follow the page also, and I think it's really, this is one of the things that social media is really great for, is showcasing all these students and the things that they can do, because you can't imagine that these are high school students and the successes that they have. So thank you very much.
And just to add, we had a visitor today, a Chinese brush painter, who commented, every visitor that comes in comments and says how fantastic the Chinese language of our students is for that age. So it's a shout out to our teachers.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I'm going to invite Principal Natalie Pohl to come down. I have been telling you for the past number of weeks, we've had a lot of work happening at all our schools, but in particular the George School. We're actually preparing for a visit tomorrow from the state to share some hard work of some collaboration, but I know Natalie is here to actually talk to you about our Global Studies School and some, actually some things that she wants to talk about to us.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So yes, with our transition at the George School into a Global Studies School, we have several committees that are meeting throughout the school year. We have a dual language district committee that works after school hours. We have a committee for each of the programs. And so we're meeting to look at streamlining procedures and protocols. And one of the needs that came out of one of the meetings is looking at our school calendar for kindergarten. So I don't have a presentation, but hopefully you do have the handout that was in your packet labeled George School Calendar Change for Kindergarten. And after the lottery process at the Parent Registration Center, each year we screen the incoming, is that still on? Sorry. Incoming kindergarten students at the George School. So in the past with the Juntos Spanish two-way program, that has been about 50 students. But now that we have the Portuguese and the French programs as well, we're screening 6 classrooms, approximately 150 students. So one of the ideas that came out of one of our committee meetings was looking at our school calendar. So currently, our kindergarten students in Brockton start a week later. It's actually 8 days later than students in grades 1 through 5. And one of our thoughts was if our kindergarten students at the George School could start earlier, then we could end 1 week earlier in June and schedule our screening appointments for those families in June while classes are not in session. So as you can imagine, screening 150 students during the school day with classes going on and paraprofessionals covering rooms can be a very challenging task. Time is often tight, space is often limited because of, you know, we need spaces to screen the students and to meet with families. So our proposal is to alter that calendar and be able to start 1 week earlier in kindergarten and end 1 week earlier in June. And all of our families that are accepted into the dual language programs come to orientation sessions. There's a night where all of us are at the school, the bilingual department, and we have a letter of commitment that families have to sign. So there's opportunities for us to be able to clearly communicate that with families and make sure that they have advance notice of that before agreeing to join the dual language program. So that is our proposal, and I wanted to bring it before you for consideration.
Thank you very much. Well, I do appreciate that you want to make sure you give our parents advance notice, and I know in the past you've done polls, because you're always looking to see how the parents feel. When we make a change like this, that's my concern. Some parents are going to already have students in the school system, and have we reached out to the parents to see how this change might affect them?
We have not done a community survey regarding this calendar change.
Okay. That would be my concern.
Okay.
Is, you know, we do know that our kindergarten does start later, but because that's something that has been happening for so long, just to make a change coming up in September that maybe we haven't polled the parents or at least had the word out there for long enough for accommodations to be made, I think that would make me feel more comfortable if we were able to do that first.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
A lot of, just, we always hear back from parents anytime we change the calendar around. I think we should just really leave it up to them and see if it works for them, the ones that are coming into the kindergarten classes. Just to get, you know, if you have students in the system and then you have younger students, you have to get, you know, babysitters or things like that, so it might just disrupt their lives a little. But if they have proper notice, I think that would work well. I agree with you.
No, we're still in, we're talking about, you know, the parents you have presently versus the parents that are coming in.
Correct. And we don't always know. We do have some sibling families that do attend the George, but a
Natalie,
lot
can
of
you
the
go over
families
the
are
process presently of how you identify when that happens?
of the incoming families. So the lottery process was at May 8th, Kelly, this year,
Yes.
at the Parent Registration Center. And after the lottery takes place, then the bilingual department works with us at the school to plan those screening dates typically in May. We're doing it before we don't typically do it in June because there is so much going on with the classrooms at that time. So we plan that in May and screen the students again during the school day.
What would be the earliest that we would have a sort of an idea of the bulk of the kindergarten parents coming in?
They're taking registrations right up until the lottery date.
We close
it
the
about a week
lottery
before?
1 week before because we have to do a lot of cross-referencing and parent communication. So, you know, as soon as kindergarten registration begins, the lottery is open, and then we have it open to the entire window of season of all of the letters that are assigned, and then 1 week of the open to all, and then we close it the week before the lottery so we can make sure that we have everyone that is included in it.
And those dates translate into?
Kindergarten registration usually begins the first week of March and then continues through mid-May.
Okay, so by the end of this month then, if we sent out some sort of a notification, we'd have most of the families identified, is that what you're saying?
We are screening currently, so we should have them identified in the next couple weeks.
Yes, we're screening this week and then a few dates next week as well. Because in a few of those classrooms we're screening for language models as well with the two-way program.
I mean, you could certainly communicate, and always communication is good with our parents. We're never going to get everybody on the same page. Obviously, you present a case that it really is in the best interest of kids to be able to start them when all the other children are starting. And again, this is for this particular school based on the work that you need to happen at the end of the year. If you, again, switch, I think it's probably, you said 8 days, 7 or 8 days, the difference?
We're proposing 5 days earlier, so there
Right, so
would
it's-
still be.
So it's 5 days?
Yes.
So I'm just trying to look at it even this year. So these students would be leaving on the Wednesday, so we have a half a day on Wednesday, the 19th. So there's 2.5 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you're proposing that they would leave earlier the previous week on?
So in June 2020, the last day of school is the 24th, And so we would propose the 17th, so 5 school days
Right.
prior.
So that might be the question that you're able to identify the parents now, have communication with them about getting ready to start them on time with our rest of our district, and then letting them know that they would be getting out, the 5 days earlier at the end of the year.
Yes, we would have plenty of opportunity to communicate with our families.
So we could put together a questionnaire as these students are identified, maybe even have an orientation where you kind of get a handle on, some parents could be very excited, there might be a few that are not, and you'd have to gauge, what the interest is there.
And we do have several orientations scheduled in the month of June.
We can.
Lisa?
I would propose that we wait 1 year to do this, and perhaps then we have the dates before we do a lottery, so that no parents that have already entered a lottery would be affected by this. Because they've already, this probably would have been something we should have considered before we had the lottery, so they would have known at that time, this is going to be a change on our calendar, this is what, you're signing up for.
It's up to you.
Well, why don't we table this tonight and go to have this at I guess curriculum? Wouldn't it be curriculum, basically?
So a curriculum subcommittee meeting?
Yeah, and then we can further vet it with Principal Pohl and try to figure out, identifying at that time perhaps how many families are involved and see if
Again, we're not,
notification can go out in terms of just sort of a meeting, not making a decision, but having an open house perhaps to discuss it.
again, the students would be getting the same instructional time. It just is they would start earlier and they would leave earlier in June. You're correct, if there was somebody that put their student in and that didn't meet their needs, we certainly wouldn't want to burden a family or a student. We want them accepted. They're excited when they make it through the lottery. The screen, especially with 3 language programs, it's a big deal to make sure we've done the screening and have things in place for our students. So,
and as we go through the screening process and we're meeting with families, there are some families that it's an educational opportunity. They learn more about the program. Sometimes they decide that it's not the right fit for their child, and we move and screen additional students on the wait list as well. So it would allow us more time to meet with families. It would allow for more consistent instruction for the current kindergarten students that are currently having substitutes and paraprofessionals in their classrooms covering while the teachers are involved in that screening process.
is there information you'd like Principal Pohl to bring to the curriculum subcommittee meeting? Any additional information, or? Can you bring us a proposal of how you would connect with the families, the number of families involved?
Okay,
And then they can certainly make a decision whether it's this year or next year.
I can do that.
Okay,
Thank
any
you.
other questions while Natalie Pohl is here about the Global Study School? We've had our first year that we're just completing with our French Amitié program, our UNTOS program, and our UNIDOS program.
How is it going?
It is wonderful. We've had several events at the school. Most recently, we had an international night of Portuguese language and culture. Professor Nelson is our visiting teacher from Portugal. He's very enthusiastic, and parent engagement he's very excited about. And right now we're getting ready to, as we're moving towards the end of the year, kindergarten celebrations. So we'll be inviting families to come back in, and students will be showcasing poems and songs and things like that for their families that they're learning in their target language. So we're excited to have the families back in.
What are the numbers?
The numbers
Students, number of students in the different programs?
In our dual language programs, the class sizes range from, it's typically 28 or 29 students. We started with 30.
So there's no lack of interest?
Correct.
Good, okay.
Correct. Yes.
How about the uniforms?
Uniforms are going very well. We haven't had any questions about that.
So if you remember, we're continuing to grow that with each class that goes through the George School.
Correct. So we'll grow to grade 2 for next year.
Okay, wonderful. Anyone else? Questions? Okay, so we'll schedule that tomorrow. We'll pick some dates. Okay.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have the budget update and advocacy update. We met earlier in subcommittee, but I'll let Mr. Minicello take over there, but I just want to talk about the advocacy piece. Last night, we had an opportunity to go before the city council with our state of the schools. We had an opportunity to talk about so many events that are presently happening. I think when I last left the group, we had not been before our press briefing, which happened on May 8th. And also, we met with the editorial board of the Globe to, again, meet with our 3 attorneys who are representing us statewide in this initiative. That's Brockton, Worcester, and New Bedford. We have attorneys Patrick Moore from Hemingway and Barnes. We have attorney John Albano from Morgan and Lewis. And we have attorney Mike Angelini from Bowdrich and Dewey, who are representing us pro bono. We also have information on each of the communities to talk about the equity needs in our districts. We had the assistance of a Harvard education doctoral candidate, Todd Stewart. So we're very fortunate. Trip Jones continues to work with us with the Mass Association for School Superintendents, our mayors, our superintendents, our chief financial officers, and certainly we are just where we need to be as we continue to watch our state budget. I again want to thank our legislative delegation for continuing to advocate for funding. We actually have a meeting coming up, I believe, in a couple of weeks with our legislative delegation as we watch the budget of the governor, the House of Representatives, and the Senate unfold in front of us. We are going to be going before our own city for our budget hearing on Monday, June 3rd at 6 o'clock in the evening, where we again will present our needs. And I want to make it clear that, again, although we did not lay off staff, we have a $5.6 million deficit. We continue to, again, prioritize. We talked about this evening, prioritizing items as money becomes available to us. We're very hopeful that we're going to be able to certainly have a better budget than we did last year and be able to continue to grow the district. So that is my update on budget and advocacy.
Okay. All right, so next we have a vote on school choice. Every year we as a committee, have to make a decision on whether or not to participate in the school choice option pursuant to Mass General Law. And we had our hearing, no one appeared to speak, so the school committee now has a decision to make, and that is whether to continue to participate. My feeling has always been, since I've been on the committee, that I think that allowing students from outside of our district to come into Brockton showcases all the good things we have here in the city of Brockton. I love it when students come in from some of our surrounding towns to attend schools here, and I would imagine that they do so because they appreciate what we have and they recognize what's here for available resources. And I'm sure their parents and their home communities are basically telling their family and friends why they prefer their student to come to school here in Brockton amongst our community and our teaching staff and our students. So I always look at it as a positive. So that being said, we have a decision to make as a school committee as to whether or not to continue. My vote, as you know, will be in favor of it. So we basically need to put it to a vote. So I'll make the motion tonight that we continue to participate in the school choice program and allow students at the high school level to come into the Brockton Public Schools, as well as the Edison Academy, correct? That
is
will also
correct.
participate. and that is through MGL, Mass General Law, Chapter 76, Section 12B. So I make a motion in favor of participating. Further discussion? Mr. D'Agostino?
I had kind of made this comment during the hearing that, and the superintendent, we kind of talked a little bit about doing more to promote all that we have to offer here to the towns around us. And I know there are a couple of projects that are, underway to start to do that work.
Choose
So,
Brockton.
So I look forward to seeing more about Choose Brockton and seeing that get out there, because I think, we do have a lot to offer that, a lot of other towns, just by the numbers, maybe aren't able to offer.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, passes. Next item, we received a notification, or a request, I should say, from the Elections, Office of the Elections Commission. I'll read you the note. Dear Superintendent Smith, the Elections Commission would like to request the use of an additional school for the upcoming election season. The school we would like to use is the Angelo School. We have 3 precincts in the Brookfield School, which causes a lot of confusion and congestion. If we were able to use the Angelo School, we could put Precinct A in there and ease a lot of the problems that arise from having 3 precincts in one school. The dates are Tuesday, September 17th, 2019, Tuesday, November 5th, 2019. The buildings would need to open by 6 a.m. and must remain open until 8 a.m. As always, the Elections Commission thanks you for your help in providing the citizens with easily accessible polling locations. Sincerely, Cynthia Scrivani. So I would suggest that we refer this to the Facilities Subcommittee of the School Committee so that we can discuss in a little more detail the implications and effects that this may have at this late date. Does that sound reasonable? Okay, all right. We're not a dictatorship here, so that's good. All right. So we will also schedule that together with our curriculum, okay? All right. So, unfinished business.
Before we go there, can I finish up and then you can take over?
Sure,
So I
absolutely.
want to do the kudos of all the things happening in the district, or would you like me to wait till the end?
I thought we like to finish up and
I'll-
wrap up with the fun stuff that's
Perfect.
going on.
I'll
you
come
know?
back on.
Instead of ending on boring things or routine business.
Let's go with the boring things.
Okay, well, I guess the next item is what, the BPS supplemental in-service calendar? Action is requested, enclosure 12.
And we have an updated calendar. There were some corrections that needed to be made after the first read.
Okay. So is this the final recommendation?
Yes, it is.
Has everyone had an opportunity to take a look at it?
So these are our in-service days, professional development, school hours, first day of school, first day for staff, and the calendar for graduation, conferences. It's our supplemental calendar.
First day of school, August? Is Kim Gibson up there? Oh, I'm sorry, Kim, I'm reading the wrong month. Okay. Any comments, criticisms? No? A motion then to approve?
Motion to approve the supplemental
That was the longest pause I've ever seen.
calendar for
Okay.
2019-20.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right. Next item. Kim didn't appreciate that, the August opening, but that's all right. Okay. BPS Parent-Student Handbooks, 2019-2020, action requested. Enclosure 13. I think we've already seen those.
Second read,
Yep,
uh-huh.
exactly. Any further comments or discussion on those items? Entertain a motion then?
Motion to approve the BPS Parent Handbook 2019 to 2020.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Okay, another unfinished item. We had a very nice presentation with Tom Burke and Erin Long from Chartwells. They showed us a nice slideshow of all the different activities during the year that have been going on and the participation with Chartwells and students in terms of gardening, especially the indoor gardening, which was very interesting, and certainly the collaboration between the schools and the students and the cooking and activities and all sorts of proactive events that Chartwells has been involved with from the first homecoming at the very beginning of the year, which was fun. So we, as part of our contractual obligation, need to renew for the upcoming fiscal 2019-2020 year, the Chartwells contract. So can we basically have a motion to ratify that vote that we had taken during that subcommittee meeting? You made the motion earlier, so why don't
Yes.
you take care of this one?
So I'd like to
Ms.
make
Plant.
a motion to approve Chartwell's contract for 2019-2020 year.
Thank you. Further discussion? All I will say about Chartwells is that we are very fortunate with Tom Burke here. He's been a very proactive and great partner to the Brockton Public Schools. We couldn't ask for any better than what he does for us. So it's a pleasure to work with Tom in all aspects of the district, I think, involved with our food service company. And also, there are so many nice people that work with him, the staff of the food service. You know, the lunch persons are phenomenal. They really care about the kids, and they put a smile on a lot of faces. Wonderful people, and they actually taught me this year how to do a very nice, tight wrap, a roll. I said, listen, how do you get that really nice, cool wrap you see in, at delis? And they said, come on in and we'll show you how to make the wrap. And they actually did. So it was great.
Do you have video of you learning?
No, there's no, that video has been destroyed now. So, okay, so no further discussion? All in favor? Wonderful. Madam Superintendent, why don't you wrap up with
Thank you. I'll
the positives? Do I need to move?
You can stay right there.
Okay, all right.
So this is the best part of the school committee meeting. We're actually able to see so many wonderful things that have happened in our district in the past couple of weeks. I'm sure you have things I've missed and we can add, but I'd like to be able to highlight for everybody. And Mr. D'Agostino, when you talk about marketing, we have so many wonderful things happening, and you're absolutely right. We need to encourage people to come to our schools, to take advantage of everything that we have. Our kids make us so proud. So this is the past couple of weeks in our district. Again, our track team continues to amaze us with the coaches' invitational. Jordan Williams won the 400-meter hurdles for the second consecutive year. Javier Donegan, fourth in the 800-meter run. Marvin Doré, third in the 100-meter dash. Winifred Nelson, sixth in the triple jump. Newsies. Hopefully all of you got a chance to see this during the weekend of May 10th, 11th, and 12th, Mother's Day weekend. You would have thought you were on Broadway. Some of my favorite pictures with the Guzman twins, who actually have been on Broadway coming out of Brockton Public Schools, I think coming back for the Saturday night performance and really giving kind of a pep talk to our wonderful students. I think you'll join me in the amazement with the male dancers. That's not to take away from our female dancers who were dressed up like the young boys. It was really hard to tell the difference. They were just amazing. To the actors, to the behind the scenes, to Mr. Hogan, to his talented staff for the hours of choreography, Mr. Cunningham with the singing, Mr. Macrina with our students, in the orchestra pit. It is just it is just like being on Broadway, so enjoy these pictures. How did we get the nuns in there? Oh, and again, our 10-year-old youngster, I think it was Marcus from the Angelo School. I do have to go over and thank the staff, Principal Marcia Andrade, and teachers from the 5th grade class, which he was a member. Parents brought the students to Brockton High School on Friday evening to cheer on their classmate. It was just wonderful. And it is just amazing that a 10 or 11-year-old can learn all those lines and to have the, whereby to be on stage in front of thousands of people watching him for those 3 nights. So again, we've got a great future ahead for our drama students. This is, again, an apprenticeship challenge graduation. Many of us attended. This included 24 youngsters in the Brockton Public Schools that had opportunities for internships this summer coming up, and during this with Dana-Farber, with Forsyth, with some great STEM initiatives headed by Jonathan Shapiro, Dr. David Mangus, and our staff of science teachers that go above and beyond. So this young lady is explaining to me, I'm not even going to be able to share with you because it was way over my head, but they clearly understand what's happening, the testing that they've done, the research. Many of them will go into STEM fields because of this. The thing that concerns me about this is we have 24 students when we should have hundreds of students doing this. So we need to continue to grow these programs and support our STEM teachers district-wide. I was very pleased last Wednesday evening to be given an Impact Award from Bridgewater State University. And this was at the graduation ceremony that they have with their public service master's program at Bridgewater. And again, just amazing to see what young people are doing all over our state, supporting fire safety initiatives, supporting clean water. And again, these are students. So it was just amazing. And again, this is the plaque, and very proud. You heard all about our collaborations with Bridgewater. This was given to us for our advocacy for our students and making sure that we provide an equitable education for all our students. So I want to thank them. Again, boxer track and field team. The number of kids, and were Mr. Gormley here, he would talk to you even about the summer program that they're starting, and hundreds of young people. So this is the benefit later on when they become members of our track, our field, they're competing, and many of them, it makes a difference with college scholarship for them. Great pictures, always trophies. Our spelling bee, so there was talk in the paper, I want to make it clear, that we did move from the Little Red Schoolhouse, which is a wonderful piece of history in the Brockton Public Schools. We just felt, for any of you that have watched the National Spelling Bee, and you've seen the students up on the stage, you've seen the judges, this is a big deal for our students. So it might be our local stage. So this year, there was a lot of hard work. Dr. Julianne Andrade, Associate Principal Eileen McQuaid, many teachers, many again, our principals supporting their youngsters. It isn't just the Brockton Public Schools. I believe Trinity also joins us in the spelling bee. It's open to all students in the city of Brockton. So we had it this year at the Arnone School, started at 9 in the morning. It was set up, so parents actually sat in comfort. Students sat in the front. We had an opportunity for the judges to sit across from the moderator and our staff overseeing the program. So again, I think not only were the acoustics much better, we could actually hear the students spelling the words versus what we were hearing in the Little Red Schoolhouse. It just wasn't what we needed to be when we're talking the 21st century. So we were very pleased with the move. We want you to know that we will continue to find ways to use the Little Red Schoolhouse to make sure our children know what education was like many, many years ago. If you haven't seen it, it's a great place to visit, and we are committed to doing something for the community, so we continue to open those doors on a regular basis and invite the public in. What I really love is every one of our winners this year got a ribbon if you came in first, second, or third place. So you see our little, I'm going to take a guess, these are our third graders. You see the plaque that the winner won in the middle, and every one of our students, the best part was, got a certificate to go to Dairy Queen. So everybody was a winner. And here you see the winners from schools across our district, including Trinity. And I have to tell you, so I attended the 8th grade, and that was at 9 in the morning on Saturday. And I'm sure you're taking a look at Jaylene Evans and Jameel Evans, identical twins. And this went down to the wire. I don't know if I would have wanted to be the mom and dad going back in that home. So it was really a nail biter. But excellent. And Peter Johnson from the Pliff School, I think he's always in our spelling bees. And again, you can look at all the names. Congratulations to all the students. These are, again, our Margot Mason, Tobias Cowens, judges, Counselor Susan Nicastro, Counselor Azak, School Committee Woman Joyce Azak, Counselor Jack Lally, Sandra Knight, and again, you see the people in teaching and learning. Jackie Pinto set up all the technology, the microphones, et cetera, for our students. And the Pops concert this year is going to be dedicated to Bob Nichols, a teacher that we lost this past year. It's a great event. It's tomorrow evening. You see general admission is $4. You can purchase at the main office from 8 to 3 o'clock, or they are available at the door, a must-see concert, and please come. And we also have another fundraising night taking place for our known school. Again, thank you to Texas Roadhouse. 10% donation night is taking place on Thursday, May 30th from 4 to 10 p.m. Texas Roadhouse, great meals, and come in and support our youngsters at the same time. And I also believe that the Angelo School has on the 28th of May, they're doing their Unity concert up at Brockton High School. An excellent job by our students. And again, if you can come out that evening, please come out and support them. And that's it for me.
Anyone else? Ms. Plant.
Thank you. Absolutely, please, go ahead first.
Before I leave, I just want to say thank you to Brockton Public Schools so much. I wouldn't be going to Howard without you guys. I don't want to get sad. Hancock, Pluff to Brockton High, tomorrow's my last day, and I'm just so grateful for everything you guys done for me. Every teacher I've met, sitting here every day, I can't stress enough how much this system means to me and how much just my impact in the school has made. And I'm just so grateful. I can't stress enough. I'm so blessed to be going to an amazing university. And also, just to shout out myself, I also wouldn't be able to say I've had perfect attendance from kindergarten until tomorrow.
Oh my goodness.
Really?
Wow.
That is amazing.
I just had to say thank you, and honestly, it would not be without Brockton Public Schools, all my teachers pushing me every day. I know my teachers now, my senior teachers, they joke with me and say they want me to miss a day of school, but of course they don't. They're just joking. But honestly, I would not have been able to achieve this without my teachers. I want to go to school every single day. I know so many people who don't want to miss school. I just can't express my gratitude to the system, to everyone involved. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to bet you have a wonderful family that supported you
Of
also
course,
to
of
be able
course.
to do that.
No tears. This is a great chapter
They're
in your
happy
life.
tears. I'm so excited.
We are so proud of you and all the other students just like you.
Yes.
This is a great chapter in your life. No tears.
No,
Big
excited
smile,
tears,
big
happy
smile.
tears. I'm so
Very
happy, but
good.
I'm sad that I'm leaving, but happy.
Come on. This is great. This is a wonderful time in your life. You're going to prom. You're
Yep.
going to a great university. You're even going to get a Dairy Queen, because I'm going to make sure that you get, yes, oh, yes, yeah, oh, you're going to be getting something, so you can go to Dairy Queen, too.
Thank you.
Don't you worry. We'll talk to Mr. Murray tomorrow and make sure that happens. Track you down.
Thank you.
So, well, congratulations. We're very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Ms. Sullivan.
I just wanted to say, I think the afternoon judges were left off the spelling bee list. So I just wanted to thank Robert Sullivan from City Council and Moses Rodriguez from City Council and Stephen Hook from Brockton Emergency Management and Judy Sullivan that also judged from School Committee.
Thank goodness you got us off the hook there. We would have been in trouble. I don't want anybody to miss anybody.
Well done. Oh, Ms. Plant.
Oh, you're right. And Mayor Carpenter was, I think he was in one of the pictures.
Okay, and Mayor Carpenter.
Well, I think we should have closed with you. That was such a wonderful statement that you made. That should have been the end. I did want to thank you for saying we are going to look at ways to utilize the Little Red Schoolhouse. I understand that it does make sense to kind of move it along, but I love that building. I look forward to seeing that building, and I know a lot of other people do too. So if we can somehow bring our families, bring our students to see that in some other way, I think
They
that's
used
a
to do it
wonderful
at
idea.
Christmas time. I thought it was wonderful to go in there. They had kids doing little activities. I remember bringing, my two daughters there, and they were, they wanted to sit in the little desk and ring the little bell and all those things that I actually remember some of. So it definitely, the deputy superintendent and I have had this conversation. The paper, it's not, it's a building that maybe always, will continue to need, some upkeeping. Those are things that we're certainly committed to doing to the best of our ability. But that was exactly the conversation we had, to try to find ways that we invite the community. I know we did have a Little Red Schoolhouse Association that really is kind of disbanded, so maybe we find a way to get people involved. As we always do, we make it happen.
Wonderful. And also about Newsies. So I have to tell you, Joey, the star of the show, my daughter Kylie she had to meet him after the show. She wanted to find him. And so as we're leaving, I explained to her, I don't know if we're going to see him. It was pretty busy. And she sees him, her face lights up. She thought he's a celebrity. And then I told her that we know where he works. We run into him at his part-time job so she can see him anytime. So, but that's how amazing this performance is that our students do. That, here's my 13-year-old daughter, and she wants to be like Joey when she grows up. She wants to be an actor. And he had a great conversation. He's such a wonderful young man, and he really sat there and listened to her. And my daughter, Hannah, I'm going to embarrass her boyfriend by letting everyone know that he had a cameo in the movie. He is not a drama student. He did not go out for the part. He was approached to have the part as the police officer. And so we were very entertained by that. He is not a drama kid, but they needed, I think, so many of our male actors had parts in the musical that they needed one more person. And so I'm going to embarrass him by saying,
Something he'll remember
congratulations
his
to
whole
Alex
life.
Boucher for his performance
I'm
in
sorry,
the
what's his
musical.
name again?
Alex Boucher. So, yes.
Well.
So that was very entertaining.
Ms. Azak.
Well, I wanted to, someone had posted on Facebook, and I believe is it Mr. Cunningham? When Joey was, I believe, a freshman and then as a senior, singing, and it was pretty amazing to see that online. I thought that was kind of cool. So we have a wonderful program, and I don't have to tell anyone that. And then, tomorrow's senior breakfast, and I have a special senior. My niece is graduating, so I just wanted to wish all the seniors have an amazing day tomorrow. It's going to be happy tears. You're all starting new chapters in your life. You're lucky. You have social media to stay in contact. So have a safe prom on Thursday. Hopefully I can go to the prom again this year. I have to get permission. But have an amazing, safe prom, and looking forward to seeing them all graduation day. So stay safe, everybody.
And let's make it clear, the permission is from your niece, not
Yes, I
from
know.
us. Okay, just want to make that clear.
I'll have to, the guilt trip. It's okay. I don't have to go.
So our favorite story I love to tell each year in memory of Mike Healy, who was our school committee member from Ward 6. I will never forget, I think it was my first year as superintendent, and I was all excited. I think I was just coming on board, and I was invited to go and see the senior prom, and I end up in some discussion, and somehow Mr. Healy wanted to, now his daughter was graduating that year. I think it was Alana. And I'll never forget, he talked about going to the senior prom and looked at everybody else like that's something school committee members did. And what did he say to you, Mr. Minicello?
He said, well, I'm going to be going to the prom. And I looked at him and I said, you're what? Because Alana was going to, his daughter was there. He goes, what? You don't go to the prom? You didn't go to the prom? I go, yeah, in 1983, my own prom. Not you, not this, not your daughter's prom.
So it was the best line. Mike got very silly about it. Mike did go to the prom.
Of course he did.
So,
Well,
again, we'll have a wonderful evening.
daughter-
You do need to get permission.
I do, and, you know, thinking of Mr. Healy, a few years later, his daughter Catherine is graduating. So, you know, I'm a Ward 6 school committee member. I'm holding a seat that he held for Ward 6. So that's a little special, and she's a wonderful girl, and we wish them all luck. But it's a precious time right now, so.
Joyce, please embarrass my daughter and her boyfriend Alex for me.
I have
as
to get
will also
permission.
Be forbidden from
But
attending.
you know me, I'll get my way.
Thank you.
Are we going to the prom, Superintendent?
I wouldn't miss it.
Okay, no corsage, just gonna.
Just heading to the prom.
Well, in light of Newsies and famous people here from Brockton High School, the Guzman twins, David and Jacob, that was the first production on Broadway that they were in together. And then they were in Fiddler on the Roof, and then one of the boys was in Hamilton in New York, and the other one was in Hamilton traveling around the country. And now, my understanding is they're both going to be with Steven Spielberg in West Side Story, the movie. I mean, so these are our Brockton High graduates. So you have a lot to look forward to, you see? So
We
that's
should
what
get
I
that.
mean. This is a great chapter in your life. So, yeah, so we have celebrities here out of the high school. So that's great.
We should get that young man Marcus's autograph now, while he's
So
still
too.
up and coming.
So,
It's fabulous.
okay, so let's see. We're going to try to keep this going until 10 o'clock. So, anyone else? No? All right. Why don't you do a motion to adjourn? Yes. You just say motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Okay, we're
Very
adjourned.
good.
Thank you.